G'day there, once again viewers, this is your mate Kamikaze78 here, come to you guys with some more Planetside 2 content. So guys, for today's video we are going to be taking a look at the Godsaw Araxium LMG for the new conglomerate that was recently changed based on user feedback to bring it a new role on the battlefield. And my oh my guys, these changes are so extensive that the entire purpose of this weapon has entirely changed, and taking into consideration my fairly mediocre opinion of the weapon in the previous review that I did, today we must answer the question of, is the Godsaw worth it now? In order to answer this question, we're going to be taking a look at the stats of both the old and the new Godsaw to see what has changed and how these changes have adjusted the agenda of the weapon, as well as discussing some strategy with the weapon if you happen to already own it or you are on your tedious journey to unlocking the weapon after 5 Araxiums. So folks, without further ado, let us see if the Godsaw is worth your time through some of the stats that it comes with to build its overall profile. And just a bit of a warning here guys, we are going through a lot of numbers today, so just prepare yourselves. So, kickstarting us off, we have the damage profile, and already we begin to see some adjustments to the weapon, with the maximum damage profile remaining at a consistent yet dreaded 200 at 10 meters in comparison to its older brother, but now coming in with a minimum damage profile of 167 at 105 meters in comparison to the old Godsaw, which had a damage profile of 167 at the 85 meter mark. Now this in turn allows for a 5-shot kill anywhere within the 10 meter distance, extending out to a 6-shot kill anywhere beyond that 10 meter distance. Now, when we complement this damage profile with a fairly slow rate of fire of only 500 rounds per minute, 8.33 rounds per second to be exact, we can come to a theoretical time to kill of 0.48 seconds at the 10 meter mark and 0.6 seconds at the 105 meter mark, with there being no change in the time to kill values between both iterations of the weapon, as they share the exact same damage profile and rate of fire, with the only difference being in the distance in which the minimum damage profile actually occurs. But anyway, moving right on along. And next up here we have the recoil, and it is arguable to say that this is where some of the most important changes were made to the Godsaw. In short, the Godsaw used to have a vertical recoil of 0.55 degrees. With the high velocity ammo equipped, that bumped it up to 0.605 degrees, along with a horizontal shift of 0.14875 degrees, along with a biased recoil angle of 0 degrees, which gave the old Godsaw an excessive amount of vertical kick and some violent horizontal deviation left and right, which gave it a high skill cap to tame the beast fueling that recoil. Now however, the Godsaw has had the vertical recoil increase of the high velocity ammo removed entirely, so the high velocity ammo still exists on the weapon, but the recoil buff does not. And this effect has been combined along with the benefits of a compensator and a forward grip added to the recoil pattern. Even though they don't aesthetically appear on the weapon, those effects are in on the stats, which does make the weapon a whole lot more controllable. Now, if that is all you want to hear about recoil and you're not exactly interested in the exact values of the new recoil pattern on the new Godsaw, then feel free to skip to the times shown on the right hand side of your screen, as we are going to get extremely mathematical here, as there are no official stat pages showing what the new recoil values are, so we kind of have to get a little bit mathematical to find them out for ourselves. So, if you're still here, let's get into some of my dodgy maths, and let's have fingers crossed that it is all fairly accurate. With the high velocity ammo recoil effect removed from the weapon, that being a 10% increase to the vertical recoil, we have a new vertical recoil of 0.55 degrees, what it was originally, without the addition of the high velocity ammo. And when we chuck in the added benefit of the compensator into the package, which is a decrease of 15% to the vertical recoil, we have a final vertical recoil for the new Godsaw of 0.4675 degrees. And as for the horizontal recoil, we now have a forward grip in effect, which brings the horizontal shift down by 25%, and therefore the new horizontal shift for the weapon is equal to 0.111565 degrees. Man, that was a lot of numbers. Sorry for that, guys. Just a couple more here to go. Something else that has also seen some fairly major tweaks is the ammo and reloading statistics, with the new Godsaw receiving a smaller magazine size of 65 rounds in comparison to the old 150 rounds in the magazine, which has subsequently had an effect on the ammo pool, now equaling 325 rounds. Now, the reload time on the new Godsaw now clocks in at 4.24 seconds short and 5.02 seconds long, as opposed to the old 7.5 seconds across both reload conditions. And wrapping the weapon up nicely is the new muzzle velocity of 670 meters per second in comparison to the old 600 meters per second. So with all that theory out of the way, and I do apologize for how many numbers there were in that, guys, what has changed for the Godsaw practically? How is it meant to be used now in comparison to when it was released? Well, in short, the weapon now behaves more like an assault LMG over a sustainable suppressive fire based LMG that it used to be, which in turn brings it a more of an alienated role in comparison to its more standard cousin, the Godsaw. The Godsaw now fills the role of being this powerhouse that can take on multiple hostiles anywhere from CQC to medium ranges with confidence if the shooter has the skills in the crosshair placement and recoil compensation department to the point where they can make the most of their magazine and then make the most of the minimal downtime that this weapon has in comparison to its standard cousin. And this does present a high skill weapon platform that requires the height of the user's powers to use it with success, but in all honesty, that is what any directive weapon should be in my humble opinion. Moving into a little bit more detail about that summary there, something that haunted this weapon ever since it was launched was the decision to give it a high velocity ammo with no compensator or forward grip to help control the infamous recoil that exists on the Godsaw series of weapons, as this was essentially the complete opposite of what most players ran as their Godsaw build, with compensator, forward grip and no high velocity ammunition, and made the recoil even more unusable in comparison to the standard Godsaw. And yes guys, I know I sound as though I'm contradicting myself right now, talking about directive weapons being high skill weapon platforms that cater to players who have been there, done that, and know how to compensate for certain weapon mechanics. But the recoil on the old Godsaw was just something else, something unheard of. It was something that would blow even the buffest NC heavy assault arms clean off if not handled correctly. However, as per stated before, these issues have been rectified, with not only the weapon getting the effects of a compensator and a forward grip added to the profile, but also the high velocity ammo recoil addition getting removed even with the high velocity ammo remaining present on the weapon. This no longer throws the weapon into the situation it was in beforehand, where it was simply contradicting itself by giving the player the ability to engage targets at longer ranges easier in regards to faster traveling rounds, but made it harder to do so by increasing the recoil drastically. The reduced reload speed at the cost of a smaller magazine allows for the weapon to have less downtime between sessions of engagement, but does require more accurate round placement in order to make the most of the smaller magazine size, and this is where the weapon begins to move away from suppressive fire combat and more into an assaulting sort of manner. And whilst more accurate round placement is made easier through the joys of the reduced recoil, don't let that fool you however, as the recoil on this weapon still remains a prevalent issue that will limit you to around about 3 to 5 round bursts depending on what range you're engaging at and how skilled you are at recoil compensation. The mentality of bursting your weapon remains ever so important, especially on the new Godsaw, thanks to its smaller magazine size, and considering that in order to get the most bang for your buck you have to make those 200 damage rounds count. You have to make sure they actually hit the target to make sure that you're actually outputting the correct amount of damage, with headshots also being an excellent bonus in compensation for the slow rate of fire of the weapon. With the slow rate of fire also in mind, and the large cone of fire when hip firing from the hip, even when caught with your pants down, is often not going to end in a positive result for you, as the Godsaw simply doesn't fit the role of being able to accurately hip fire. So when you are caught in a situation by surprise at close quarters combat, do everything you possibly can to aim down sights to grant yourself a higher chance at winning the engagement. And with all these factors thrown into the pot of consideration, it is quite clear that the Godsaw weapon requires precision and all the skills that you've learnt over time of using light machine guns to use it to its full potential. The Godsaw used to be a sit in a choke point kind of area and hose down targets as long as you can keep the crosshair on target before you proceed to shooting towards the sky or the ceiling with that 150 round magazine. Now it is more of an assault based light machine gun that requires you to have the target acquisition skills in key, but when you do, it rewards you with unparalleled damage with a fast reload for less downtime on a more accurate platform for the damage that it is providing. So with all that in mind, the Godsaw, in my opinion, is beyond worth it right now, and if you are a heavy assault player on the new conglomerate that admires the Godsaw, but you wish you could take it into a few more assaulting situations where your downtime didn't extend over 6 seconds, then this is the weapon for you, hands down, and you should definitely get your sights locked down onto it, because trust me guys, this is the weapon that you will want to get, and get it fast, because it is well worth the grind at this current stage. And with all that said guys, that does wrap up today's re-review slash was it worth it now of the Godsaw. I do hope you guys found today's video enjoyable and maybe a little bit informative about the new Godsaw. Maybe you're now charging head on towards that shiny Iraxian plated Godsaw, or maybe you're putting this thing on the back burner because it doesn't sound like your cup of tea. Either way guys, I hope I was able to help, and if I was able to help, then a backhanding of that like button would be greatly appreciated. And if you happen to be new to the channel and you're on your way around backhanding that like button, then possibly go around backhanding that subscribe button while you're at it guys, it would be greatly appreciated. If you have any feedback for today's video, or you'd like to make a suggestion for an upcoming video, then do feel free to leave that in the comment section down below. And as for always guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.